This is Sony A7IV. It's my personal camera, and it's literally taking me all around the world. I got to shoot for brands like Coke, Red Bull, DJI, or Asus. And this literal camera is taking me from a hobbyist to a professional. It's taken around 200,000 photos, this model. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about that story, how I got from a hobbyist to a professional, but also about this camera, whether it's good investment in 2025 and 2026, or if you just wait for a new iPhone and get an iPhone and shoot everything on iPhone, as most people are doing these days. And I'll give you some general tips, so if you're interested in making video or photo your professional career, or if you want to try it out for yourself, this video might be for you. I don't want to talk about megapixels and technical stuff. There's plenty other YouTubers, plenty other channels doing that. I'll try to keep it as little in terms of technicalities as possible. The A7IV is a hybrid camera, which means that it's designed to take good photos and good video as well. I filmed anything from social media to regular commercials with it. I took photos that were printed on billboards. I took photos that ended up on Instagram, anything in between, and it held up really nicely. Now this camera has a full frame sensor. Sensor is this thing in the middle. It's one of the most expensive things about the camera. Sensor is what captures the light, and generally speaking, the bigger it is, the better low light performance, the better image. It's like an eye of the camera. So the bigger the sensor, the better. But this chip also has IBIS, which stands for in-body image stabilization, and that's exactly what it is. It tries to stabilize the sensor so that way when you're taking photos and you move a little, it tries to get rid of that movement so that your photos are as sharp as possible and your video is as smooth as possible. So image stabilization, very important feature of this camera. Now, Sony cameras are legendary for their low light performance, and this camera is no exception. I the other day was filming a documentary and there was no light whatsoever. It was night, and I cranked that ISO. ISO is sensitivity of the sensor to the light, and with Sony cameras, for some reason, you can just crank it up and the image usually turns out fine. Now, if you're into sports or wildlife photography, this camera does 10 frames a second of continuous burst, kind of like this. 10 frames a second. Now, there are definitely cameras that are faster than this. There are cameras that do 30 frames a second or something crazy like that, but those cameras usually cost 5 times as much as this camera. So price to performance, I think this one wins. Now, the video that comes out of this thing is really sharp and crisp, and that's because it's actually 7K oversampled down to 4K, which means that it's actually 7K video that's compressed and squeezed into a 4K frame. So that way you get a lot more crispiness and really nice image quality. I also have Sony ZV-E1, and it's excellent for video. It's 12.5 megapixels. This is 33, by the way. And the video is really good, but it's not as sharp and as crisp as the A7IV. Now, one of the most common critiques of this camera is the crop. Crop is when your camera kind of zooms in on itself. This has 50% crop in 4K 60, which means that for this image, for example, 50% crop would be kind of here. And that's because the 33 megapixel sensor that this camera has couldn't handle all the image and all the data, so that's why we have the crop. But you can use it as an advantage. For example, when I need to zoom in a little bit, I use this mode and it works fine, and I used it actually to my advantage. When you're, for example, someplace where you can't go closer physically, you can use the crop to kind of push in onto the subject that you're filming. For example, we were filming Formula 1 for Red Bull, and of course you can't go onto the track because you would get hit and killed. So you need to stand in certain physical space. You can't physically move in, but because of the crop, I could get a little closer just by that kind of disadvantage of this camera. So I used it to my advantage, and that's what I like about it, actually. But the biggest problem of this camera isn't the crop. To me, it's the rolling shutter. Rolling shutter is when you move with the camera like this, very fast, back and forth, for example, while panning or something. The way this sensor captures image isn't the entire image at the same time, but it goes from left to right or from top to bottom. And when you move really fast, sometimes you move faster than the camera captures the image. But when you know this about this camera, you just stay away from like some panning movement type of shots and you're fine. So the biggest issue with this camera isn't really an issue when you know about it, and I didn't even notice it while filming. Now the camera records in S-Cinetone and S-Log3. Those are two most used codecs in video, generally speaking. So if you want to color grade your footage, you can, but if you want to just something straight out of camera that looks kind of nice, you can as well. So there's a nice little range, like you can start on something maybe easier like Cinetone and learn your coloring, and then you can move to S-Log3. I personally shoot everything in S-Log3 because I want to have maximum dynamic range and maximum image so that I can, for example, color footage like this in post, and I can make the decisions in post. Now, one of my absolute favorite features about this camera is the dual SD card slot, which is perfect. If you want to be professional, if you want to make this like a career or a living, you need to capture at least on two cameras at the same time. Because imagine that you're shooting a wedding or a commercial or something and your SD card gets corrupted and you have no files. Like, you can very easily ruin somebody else's day. For example, I have regular cards like this, and then I have 1 terabyte camera that just lives inside that camera, and that's like my backup for like 5 projects going back. That way I know that I have everything backed up on at least 2 SD cards while I'm shooting. If you have a camera that has 2 slots, please use this. I know way too many stories where a card got corrupted or it got broken, and it took a lot of time and a lot of effort to salvage it, and it not always work. So if you want to make this a career, please back up your data and shoot on at least 2 cards. But also, what I personally do, I have 1 terabyte card that lives in the camera. It's backup for like 5 projects at the same time. I always just delete the latest project in that card, and if I need to salvage anything, if I lose data or something, I always have a backup. So I highly recommend this as well. There's no excuse for losing data, and it'll make your life a lot easier, trust me. Generally speaking, even if you're backing up your data onto like a computer or like one of these, try to always have 2 copies. 2 copies, because even the discs and the physical media can get corrupted. And if you want to make this your career, you need to be hyper vigilant, and you need to have at least 2 backups, really. Now, the buttons. This camera has one of the coolest switches that people have been asking for a long time. It's a switch between photo and video mode, because what it does is that you can have your camera set up for video, the ISO, the shutter, the f-stop, everything. It saves itself into that mode, and then you can switch to photo mode and have completely different settings. And the camera remembers what you had set up, and it switches automatically back and forth just by pressing that switch. That's one of the coolest features about this camera. You can just switch, take pictures, switch, take video, switch, take pictures, switch, take video, and it's seamless and it's amazing, and that's why so many people love this camera. But there are also 4 custom buttons on this camera that you can program to do anything you'd like, and for both photo mode and video mode. So technically you have 8 buttons that you can program to do anything you'd like to help you be faster and more efficient. So for example, the button C1, in photo mode, I have it as my white balance setup, and in video mode, it locks the touch operations so that I can't accidentally press something with my nose, for example, or something like that. But the main question is if this camera is worth it in 2025 and 2026. To me, it absolutely is. The autofocus is incredible, as it is with most Sony cameras. It's reliable. I've never had any issues with it. I've had it for 4 years, and I'd taken something like 200,000 photos with it. It never had any problems. It's fallen. I even cracked the camera here because it fell with my tripod, and it works fine. So it's really well made, it's well built, it's nice to hold, because so many cameras are kind of small, and for somebody with big hands, it's kind of hard to hold. But this, even me with my fat fingers, I can hold it comfortably. Now, are there better cameras? Of course, but this camera is a really good price to performance ratio, especially in 2025, because a lot of times this thing is in sale and you can get it for 20% less or something like that, which is a really good deal for a camera like that. So I personally love this thing. Now, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.